There is no more legendary name in Mopar engine building than Keith Black. Starting way back in the 40s, Keith cut his teeth building engines for race boats, and then with the increasing popularity of drag racing, quickly moved more towards quarter-mile racing. When Chrysler first introduced the 426 Hemi, they tasked Keith to refine it into the ultimate drag racing engine. He would create the first 426 Hemi aluminum-based race block, which literally became the standard for all Top Fuel and funny car racers from there on out, regardless of what brand of body they were running. With the help of Chrysler engineer Bob Tarazzi, Keith Black Racing also became Chrysler Corporation's go-to engine shop to develop their high-end racing programs. Keith died in 1991, leaving KB Racing in the hands of his kids, who unfortunately over time struggled to be able to keep up with the ever-evolving racing landscape, and the once state-of-the-art operation became in desperate need of a reboot. As of recent, Tim Banning from For Hemis Only purchased the Keith Black Racing operation and has set out to bring the company back to its former glory by refreshing and retooling Keith Black's legendary 426 Hemi aluminum blocks. The main operation has been moved from Southern California to Clearwater, Florida, where the company is now based. I recently took a trip to see for myself what was going on down there and talked to Tim about his plans for the company's future. So today I'm here with Tim Banning, the man behind For Hemis Only and now Keith Black Engines. And we really came here to see if he's crazy, to see why he wants to take on this project. And it's exciting for Mopar guys because this is such a nostalgic brand, Keith Black, to us.
Yeah.
And it goes back, I guess, to 64-ish. Is that when Keith started the company?
50s.
50s, that far back?
Yeah. I think he was boat racing in the 40s. Yeah.
And as many of us know, when Keith passed away, the passion wasn't there for the company anymore, and there was some lackluster parts manufacturing. So Tim has recently stepped in with lots of Hemi experience to rejuvenate that company and bring the Keith Black brand back to its exceptional
quality.
What would you say?
Quality,
Yeah. So why did you want to be involved in the Keith Black brand?
I wanted to get involved. This will sound selfish. We obviously all want to be part of resurrecting such an iconic brand, but running For Hemis Only, we live and breathe putting engines together, and we just did not have a reliable block. Supply was bad, and the blocks, and I'm not here to slam other block manufacturers, but for the typical power we were making, let's say Nostalgia Superstock or Street Blower engines even, we were having block failures like crazy. And I just thought, if we don't get a better block, there's no point being in this business. And then the chance to resurrect KB came along, and I jumped on board, for good or bad at the time. It was, because of the disarray, it was a lot bigger project than we envisioned. Every time we opened a closet, more skeletons fell out, sadly.
Well, let's talk about FHO. So you're up in Canada,
Yes.
Way far. Today we're in Clearwater, Florida, so we're at the opposite ends of the world.
Yeah.
And you're just building Hemis.
Yes.
You're not in the manufacturing side of this at all at this point, right?
We're not. No.
And then, what year did you decide you wanted to get into the manufacturing side with Keith Black?
Late 2016, we heard that Ken may do something with the company, because it was, I don't think it had even operated for like 5 or 6 years. So I flew out to California to have a look, and I think I described it as like going to a museum. I couldn't believe how old the equipment was on that, because all I'd read about when I was a young person was, that was the top shop in the world. It was just state-of-the-art everything, but you can't leave anything alone. You got to keep updating if you want to stay in business. So you knew the potential was there, but the quality of the blocks, the equipment, nothing was up to snuff. So we knew we're going to have to jump on this. Well, if we're gonna make all new tooling, you're going to look at the block in CAD, from the water jackets out, and improve on it to modern standards. Another thing we talked to, I know what I used to work on a KB or any block for that matter, and I would have my wish list. Why wouldn't they do this? Why couldn't they have added a oil port there? And I talked to, Chuck at Best Machine, Ray Barton, who I've been friends with for many years, and guys said, well, geez, it'd be nice if you had that in the block. This was our opportunity to put those added features into a block. You're starting from scratch in CAD, the tooling's got to be made, and we made this block stronger, better oiling, and better cooling all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So basically you started with the original Keith Black block and just built on top of it.
Yes, yeah. We took the basic design. It was already the best block on the planet, and we made it better.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so you cast them at Wolverine up there, and they do all the finishing work, and then...
Yeah, they do. Wolverine does the casting itself, so they'll do a blasting process when it comes out. Then they'll send it off for hardening, so it gets heat treated. Then they load them up on skids, and they go to 2 different machining centers. One is RMC in Michigan, the other one is Kitech in Ontario. Kitech, really super high-end machine shop, does a lot of U.S. Navy projects, and RMC has done billet blocks for us in the past, so they have a lot of experience machining blocks for us. So between the 2 of them, it allows us almost unlimited capacity to produce blocks.
But then when they come down here, you still have a lot more finishing to do on them.
We do.
Yes.
We don't rely on, I'll say, non-Hemi guys to rely on their finished machining. We cover all the deburring, pressure testing, making sure all the threads are good in the block. Just a really good checkup of the block. And then once we know a block is 100% perfect, then it goes into our oven and we put the sleeves in. So if some customers will order, they want small bore, 4 1/4 sleeves go in. If they want big bore, 4 1/2 goes in. If they want something in between, they get 4 1/4 inch bores, and we can take it out to whatever size.
So are you doing an off-the-shelf block, or is this a block that someone calls in and you manufacture specifically for them?
We do an off-the-shelf block. The standard is the 4 1/2, but we do keep in stock the 4 1/4. And I always leave blocks here that have no sleeves in case the customer wants something very unique. You know, if somebody calls me ahead of time, I need a 4350, such and such, and it could be a ductile iron specification we call Darton, and that's what we get, and we'll put them in.
So Keith Black was known for Hemis, but he also had wedge blocks. Are you guys doing those also?
We are. We're doing what I call an OEM replacement block. Again, same casting as the race Hemi, same strength, but machined, so everything OEM will bolt on that thing, same camshaft, lifters.
Is the oiling system the same down the side, like the Hemis?
Yes, it is.
So it's got that different oiling system on it.
It's
Yes.
priority, you know, side oiling system. So it's a much superior piece to an OEM. And we also make now a raised cam wedge. So it's a raised 60 mil needle bearing deal for big stroke engines or guys just wanting to make more horsepower.
In the past, we used to get low decks to do that with. Is Keith Black actually made a low deck in the past?
They did.
Is that something in the works, or do you think it's not relevant anymore?
There's a place in the market for it, but it's very small. And to do it properly, it requires its own tooling to do right. Guys say, well, just cut the deck down.
It doesn't work that way, yeah.
You're into the water jackets. And we're concentrating on where the numbers are.
So it's an expensive proposition.
It is,
yes.
And if we're going to do 200 regular deck blocks to 1 ratio, it's not a real smart move for us.
Right. So yeah, you got to follow the money and make sense of it all. Keith Black also made small blocks back in the day. Is there any thought pattern on those?
0. No, we're going to stick to the big stuff. That's going to be our niche.
Thank you for your honesty. So that's always good to know where you're going. Now, we also talked a little earlier about maybe getting some Keith Black valve covers, which is something that I'm very interested in because I love the old nostalgia speed part stuff. Yeah. And that is something that you're thinking about doing.
Yes, we've got the tooling for that. That will get introduced eventually. We got to basically get our warehouses full of blocks. That's our key right now, and then we can concentrate on different things. We get a lot of calls on oil pumps. KB had a great oil pump, a couple of great oil pumps. Well, again, we're not going to reproduce something that was designed 30, 40 years ago. Right,
so you've got to go through the whole thing.
We've got a new pump, and it's, I'll say, weeks away from being produced, and it's a killer pump, which will, again, work in tandem with our blocks.
Right, and you know, we're really down here on the cusp. This is all brand new. You just moved in this facility in July of 2022.
Right.
So you haven't been here long.
No, it's been a big undertaking. We moved from Canada with our equipment, pulled in here expecting our building to be finished, and it was not.
Right.
So it's been an undertaking, and but you know, we room by room, machine by machine, we're getting things up and going. And the last item really was our Superflow dyno.
What difference in doing business in Canada and the United States sticks out the most to you?
The fact that first off, we're not dealing with all the cross-border stuff. 90% of my customers were in the U.S. anyway, so you've taken a lot of paperwork out of your hands, going back and forth, painful.
And shipping's so expensive these days too.
Huge.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for FHO's perspective was the dyno testing. We were in a very cold climate. Our season was so short. You're building engines all year round. But we only had if you had a 6-month window to dyno, that would be it.
Right.
And some years, guys are really wanting their engines at, I'll say, if I said April, and there's times we still weren't, dyno testing till May.
Everybody wants to build an engine in the winter and go racing in the summer is what they want to do. So that's kind of,
it's laughable. I tell guys up north, I said, when I go to start an engine here cold, it's really warm. The engine's starting to get warm. It's
temperature's all relative, right?
Right. I can't test your EFI system for cold starts because it's not cold here. But it's very healthy for an engine. Aluminum engine, you're starting at room temperature, could be 80. Whereas up north, the dyno cell might be just above freezing before you got things going. It's better for the engines all around.
So let's define what we have here. So FHO is an engine building company, and Keith Black is a parts manufacturing company. So there are two distinctive things happening here. So just so people don't get confused, FHO isn't making blocks and parts and heads and stuff. Keith Black is the one making the heads. It just happens to be manufactured with similar proprietors, I guess, right?
Right. I'm the president of both companies. So Keith Black is a block building company that we want to cover all the big inch Chrysler stuff initially. We'll expand on that as time goes on. For Hemi's only is an engine building shop, but we do all the quality control for Keith Black as well, and the final testing and operations. So we're hand in hand here, but they are absolutely separate companies. Yeah.
So it's called for Hemi's only. Do you build wedge motors?
We haven't until I got involved with Keith Black, and we are getting called for wedge engines now, so we will start doing wedges. I used to build a ton of them, but up north I got so busy with Hemis, you'd have to draw the line somewhere.
Right.
So, I was very tooling specific to Hemi engines, which we really still are, but with the KB, the blocks are virtually the same, so that's helpful.
So what does the future look like for KB and FHO?
I think the sky's the limit, in all honesty. We still can't keep up with demand, so we're going to expand somewhat. We're talking now of taking the unit next to us, which will double the size of our shop, and we're even looking at ramping up to doing cylinder heads, rocker arms, etc. So
you're not looking to dialing this down anytime soon?
No time soon. Yeah. No, it's my passion. So you could retire and do nothing, but this is what we love doing, and I want to I'm training a staff down here, and I'd like them to keep it going long after I'm gone, so that's the plan.
So where does the process start?
Okay, the process starts on this. The castings will come from our machining center in Saginaw, Michigan, and we also have race Hemis blocks being machined in Ontario, Canada. So this is a casting that comes to us. We call it rough machine, no sleeves in it, obviously. And so our first step is going to be to give it a visual, check it over for any defects, obviously. Then we're going to start putting in water plugs, nothing else, just water plugs, and pressure check it. First thing you want to do is pressure check it. If it leaks, there's no point in wasting any more time with this. Once we know it's leak-free, the next step would be to completely deburr it. There's certain things we polish. We don't find any troubles with threads or anything like that, but we still run taps through everything just to make sure there isn't a snapped off die or something inside the block. And once we officially give it the check off on the block, as far as uniform machining and everything, then we'll put it in an oven and put the sleeves in.
Now, the one thing you said about putting it in the oven and putting the sleeves in is you also let it go to room temperature, because the biggest problem that you found with Hemis is the sleeves separating from the block at times, correct?
Yeah. When we heat the blocks up, we'll typically go 250, 275. We'll chill the sleeve So when this is in the fixture, it's just clunk, clunk, clunk. They drop right in.
How much does it change? A millimeter or so?
I'm a thou guy, but yeah, they'll change 5 to 10 thou anyway.
That much?
Yeah. And then then the next step is the block's still hot. We put a deck plate on both sides. Not so much torque it down, but we get it snug. And that block isn't touched again until it comes back to room temperature.
Right.
Now we know the sleeves are there for good. They're not moving. And then it's ready for the next process.
Okay.
So, and one note, we leave the blocks, or a certain percentage of blocks here with no sleeves, because we offer them in 4 1/4 or 4 1/2.
So you can go either way.
Either way. So if somebody wants something in between, you put the 4 1/4 in, and we can quickly moor it out to whatever, you know, bore size they need.
So it's set up as a total custom shop. When you call and get a motor done here, you spec it out exactly how you want it.
Exactly. We can make it any configuration the customer
So you're
wants.
not locked into any certain kind of configuration.
No. Yeah, and this block has got so many features on it. It's basically maxed out as far as anything you could ever want, and you can use them or not, but you don't have to add a thing. Full-time oiling everywhere, extra ribs. We modified this block by quite a bit.
And this would be what you consider the Keith block, Hemi block?
This is a street block.
Street block?
Street block, yeah.
I noticed you use a Mopar on here. Are you guys licensed by Mopar?
We are, yeah. Way back when, that was part of the deal.
So you're still licensed?
Yeah, 4340 main caps, 5/8 main studs, double half-inch side studs. We believe you can run well in excess of 4,000 horsepower on this water block.
Right.
We have guys already over 3,500 horse at the rear wheels driving on the street, so pretty impressive.
And this particular block has all the bracket holes and mounting for a factory type
Anything
setup.
OEM will bolt on this block, correct. The only change on the block as far as motor mounts go, driver side, because we're a side oil block, so we have right from the oil pump, it's going to the mains immediately. Well, to have this bolt hole on a factory block would be here. It's moved down. It's a simple modification on a factory mount put on it.
So is this a Keith Black innovation?
That's something that they did. There's other blocks I can think of, 427 side oiler back in the day. You know, a few race blocks have done it for sure. Very superior as far as oiling goes. So the next operation, you want to start on that? The next operation we would do is we would take the block over to our CNC.
Okay.
Even though this block doesn't need bushings, in our operation here, we put bushings in for oil control. Instead of having a rather large, you have to drill it like 4-inch end drill there. And so it leaves a fairly big opening. We want to limit the oil demand in our engine, so we'll bush it and put like a 30 thou orifice in it. Keeps your oil pressure up regardless of what you're doing. And so the next operation is come over here with Dwight, and it'll go into our, right now he's doing the 4-axis machining, and that puts bushings in. This machine now is set up, it'll even take the bushing from your hand and put it in place. So pretty correct. From
beginning to end, how long does the process take?
We'll spend probably 2 to 3 days on any block getting it ready to go.
Just preliminary, before you even start building it?
Before you start building it, it's 2 to 3 days, Again, depending on the flow of what we have being done here. So this will run, he'll have the bushings in it, all size. He'll then check the lifters to make sure that we haven't got worn tooling, that the lifters go in properly. Okay, some shops will want that block shipped just like that. So it'll get cleaned, bagged, and it's good to go. If not, if we're building it here, it goes to the next step, which is doing the cylinders next. So that'll be done here. Stan will be doing it here. And we got a brand new Rottler, CNC home, uses diamond, stones, etc. And it's a automatic, once set up, it'll make every bore bang on. In this case, we're going to 4.5 inch. It'll hold that within a tenth or two, plus or minus a tenth, literally. So we've never had accuracy like that in the past on this machine. So when Stan's done this, he'll blow it off, and the next operation is it'll go into our sun and align home. And what we've done here is, this machine's designed to have the block the other way, upside down.
Right.
The ease of getting at the mains.
Right.
We have made fixturing here to stand it up, and the reason is we've got an aluminum block, 4340 main taps, where they're as hard as, I call them, they're like diamonds, trying to cut diamonds, and by putting the weight of the mandrel on the cap side, we'll get a super clean, accurate bore.
Okay.
So if you flip it over the other way, the weight's on the aluminum. Which side do you think it's going to want to cut?
Right.
So this is a very superior way of machining this particular block. So again, anything we're shipping or putting together is going to be going
through that process. Yeah.
And when Stan finishes this, it's literally ready for wash. You know, blow everything off, oil, and it can be shipped to, you know, any shop or customer that wants a finished product.
Right.
It's ready to go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So these here, this is finished product?
Yeah, these are all blocks in various stages. The ones on the end need sleeves. The ones up front typically would already be machined. There's a mix of a few kV blown alcohol blocks there that we're completely remachining as well. New main caps, new sleeves, etc.
So at the moment right now, you make a street version and you make a full-on race version.
We do.
Yeah.
And the difference is it's same casting, same strength. If you look here, how big the bore is on some of those blocks.
Right.
That's a raised 60 mil needle bearing setup, so it gives us more clearance to the, you know, the crank to the cam, but also makes more horsepower because you got a bigger, you know, cam journal, etc.
So are you doing the race cam version on a street version also?
Yes, we are, and we've got we're offering it in the wedge now as well. So we've got most of our pro street guys or serious horsepower guys in the street will run the race block. It does everything the same, but it makes more power. So
when you take that cam and you move it up, basically you can run a much bigger cam, but you can run a different stroke. How much can you stroke there?
Yeah, we're running over 5-inch strokes in a number of these blocks.
Right.
There's an added advantage is you raise the cam, we're now getting the lifters in a better position.
Right.
And on the race cam or race block, we're also spreading the lifters, straightening out the push rod.
So the geometry kind of cleans it up.
Better,
yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's the beauty of machining your own blocks and making your own blocks. We get all the improvements we used to have to put in a block afterward. It's built right in.
Right into the beginning, so you don't have to go through that process.
Correct.
Yeah. So if a guy calls up and orders a block, you're going to get, it's going to go through the process we just looked at. It's going to go here, it's going to get shipped out the door, and they can build it themselves if they want, right?
Right. And the bores will be bang on.
Right.
We can supply rotating assemblies and pistons that are made for all this. We have cylinder heads. Here's a set of Chrysler aluminum heads, which we rarely use. That came in on a used engine. And here's the heads we'll put on our, these are made for our KVs. So that's it there. And then this is again machined in our CNC here in-house. And you know, they're machined to match steam holes in a KV, etc.
So where Keith Black stops is on the blocks, and then
everything else continues on
Hemi's only. FHO takes over at that point and becomes a machine shop to finish the product, if you wish. If you wish, or you can take it to your own shop.
Yeah, but we're supplying a number of dealers.
Yeah.
And they generally will just want us to do the preliminary.
Right.
So they've got a machine shop. They're going to finish their stuff.
Right.
But a ton of guys are building their engines at home now.
Right.
And they don't, let's face it, they don't have all the measuring equipment they maybe should have.
Right.
But if we make the block geometry perfect, they should be good.
Right.
They really should be good.
Now you guys aren't making any heads at this point. Do you find the heads out there that are out there are so good now you don't need to?
No, the head supply is an issue. We are looking in, we have made our own billet heads for some of our all-out race engines. Recently there was a problem at stage 5 that the owner has passed away, and this is his casting.
Right.
It comes very rough. We machine it. So that's something that's a developing story. We got to address one way or another. So
is that something you're going to look at acquisition of?
We are looking at that.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. All the Hemi builders are in a bit of a panic right now, waiting on this.
Yeah, I can imagine.
See how this works out.
Yeah, you got to have all the parts to make one. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So from this stage now, if we were going to be building an engine, it would be going to this man Clay.
Okay.
That's his place over here. I can
Okay.
show you. And the finished stage 5 heads and some of the cranks that are prep going and stuff here. So this is Clay's cave here.
Final assembly?
Yeah, so he does a lot of our assembly. He's taken a lot of the load off of me, and this is a Pro Street engine. That's a 650 cubic inch engine.
So in the past, you used to do all the building, finished work.
All of it.
So now you've taken over the business side of stuff, huh?
Well, I still do some engine building, but the numbers are so high now that we needed help, and Clay was like 40 years of experience. He's done Brad Anderson and all the top engine brands he's covered, and he loves Hemi, so it's a good spot for him. So, and this is a built-in intake we machine in-house as well that goes on these engines, matches up to our race heads.
And this one's going in a street car, you say?
This is a street engine, yeah.
That's a pretty crazy street engine.
It is, yeah. It's going to be fuel injected. It should be 12 to 1300 horse in that range.
Right.
Naturally aspirated, yeah.
And that car is going to, or the engine's going to Texas, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going into a CUDA, 70 CUDA.
Oh, that'll be wild. That'll be a wild ride.
Yeah.
So how do you see the Hemi market going forward? Do you think this stuff's going to hold up and just get stronger, or what do you think?
It just keeps growing. I've been saying for years, when does this end?
Right.
It's not going to. This is my favorite spot.
Ah, the dyno room.
Yeah, so we just did, this is a brand new super flow power mark.
So everything you do gets dyno before it goes out the door, obviously.
Everything. We will not let an engine go out without being dyno tested. You don't want to get caught on something stupid like a rear seal leak or anything like that. This guy wanted almost a traditional look, but with EFI. And obviously, off the dyno, it won't have 90% of these wires and cables. That's all for testing purposes. But yeah, it's a great way just to make sure everything's perfect really before it goes. We can sort out and map out most of the fuel tables, etc. before it leaves.
If there's an issue, what generally is that issue with the Hemi?
In all honesty, old Hemis, valve train, rear seal leaks. Yeah, I mean, with the parts we're using in the rotating assembly, it's rare to have a problem. But valve trains, you really got to make sure that the valve train's oiled correctly. If there's going to be a problem usually on the intake roller or something like that, again, it's a race engine that you bring in the RPM down when you're stuck in traffic. Pretty radical valve train to be sitting there with very little oil getting to the top end, etc. So we do quite a few changes through the rockers, etc., to improve that oiling.
And the way that you bush it keeps that pressure high.
And we added oiling holes to the rollers, etc. So they really do have full-time oiling to everything today. So.
So how much better are the Hemis, the old Hemis today versus, say, when Keith Black was doing them? Is there a drastic difference in longevity and quality and performance?
Yeah, I would honestly say there is, because now we've increased the amount of oil, we changed the oiling system, so there used to be a ton of options. You could, I want lifter oiling, I want this, which you'd have to keep adding to your order. And even, it'll sound stupid, but even simple things like it's in the car and I want to put an oil pressure gauge on it. Keith Black, you couldn't. There was no oil at the back of the engine. You had to go down the side oiling system. We've completely machined it, added the external oil galleys. So it's full-time oil through the block, full-time oil, big passage to the back. So you've got all kinds of options. We've got dry sump fittings on it. And you can paint it orange like this one, or you can leave, I like them aluminum myself, but to each his own. And that's our own custom oil pan too. We have made for us by Moroso for our street engine. But yeah, they work pretty well.
So all the blocks you're doing are aluminum. You're not doing any cast iron ones?
We get the odd cast iron sent to us for repair.
But as far as a Keith Black item, that's not
that's
even,
an FHO repair. Yeah. If I never saw another cast iron block, I'd be more than happy. I say that we do fix them. It's not my passion, put it that way. I've always said we were kind of spoiled. Once you've had a KB block or worked on them, it's hard to go back to something else. They're just so superior. So, it makes life easy for us. a number of them here already done. This has been dyno tested already, but that's really our standard street package. And with a 500 lift camshaft, that'll make like 775 horsepower and drive anywhere you want to go. It's the smallest camshaft money can buy.
So that's like Mr. Reliable?
Yeah, that's our, I always call it the New York to LA motor. It's just a drive. Just drive that motor, yeah.
So how did you originally get into Mopars?
It's a funny story actually. I was working in a General Motors dealership as a kid, and there was a number of racers, you know, Chevrolet Camaro racers working there, and they said, I was fascinated. I got to get a car. And well, they weren't around. Somebody traded in a Cuda. And I bought it that night before they could even react to it. And they couldn't believe it. They said, we got to get you a Camaro. And I love my Cuda, and that started it all. You know, you'll see the Cuda on its back wheels here, pictures of it in years gone by. So supercharged, you name it.
And that's the maroon car that you have a picture of right here?
That's it right there.
So
yeah. That's when it was a KB. That's after spitting a belt off at the track.
So that car is guilty of starting this entire operation.
I bought that car when I was 18 years old.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, if someone wants to buy a KB block, how do they do that?
They can call any of the dealers, you know, whether it be Ray Barton, Best Machine, CNC on the West Coast, Bob Mazzolini.
So you don't sell direct?
When you say direct, we do not. It would go through, if you called me, I'm running both operations here, it would go through FHO. Yeah.
Or Ray Barton, or one of your dealers.
I tell guys, whoever's closest to you, typically that's where you would buy.
Because of the cost savings on shipping, or just being close to where the motor's built?
Well, that too. But if you're buying, let's say, from Ray Barton, and he's got 4 blocks going that way, it's obviously cheaper to ship. Shipping's huge today.
Right.
So, but if guys are getting an engine built here, obviously you're going to buy from FHO. You know, we do it all in house. So, and we have the added advantage of we just walk out to the KB section and pull the block out. There is no shipping. So that I have a built-in advantage that way.
Right. So there is one thing though. When you go to the website, it looks like you've reintroduced the T-shirts and the decals and the hats and such. Those can be purchased from Keith Black, correct?
They can.
Okay.
That'll be done online. So we have a guy handling that online.
Right. So you can go and get your old cool T-shirt, which we all have to have. But that stuff is now available, correct?
Yeah.
So how many engines do you ship out in a week or a month?
Yeah, we're going to have to keep a pace of about 2 a week.
That's not bad.
Yeah, about 2 a week now. But you know, blocks way more than that.
Right, but a complete engine you can get two out.
Yeah.
And what do you think the ultimate capacity of this shop is as far as putting motors out the door?
I don't know if I want to go a whole lot more than that engine-wise. I would rather start selling blocks, rotating assemblies, finished heads, and there's a lot of qualified engine builders that if you get the rough stuff out of it and make it a lot easier to build. So I know Hemis traditionally, most people would say is the worst engine they ever built as far as nothing fits.
Right.
And with CNCs, there's no excuse for that.
Right.
They should be machined that the stuff bolts together, and that's kind of our goal here. So, yeah.
If you like this video, please smash the like button. And if you want to see more like this one, make sure you have a subscription to Mopar TV. It's absolutely free. This has been Robert Wolf reporting from the road. And until next month, I'll see you on the pages of MCG.